Hello, my name is Lisa Elvin Stoltari, and this is my channel. Have roots, will travel. I'm a genealogist and a passionate traveler. Now, travel takes on many forms. Some of it is actual, and we'll be exploring that in certain videos. And a lot in terms of genealogy is actually virtual. And we're either traveling through time or we're getting to know the locations. In all of these videos that I produce, we are going to be focusing on where, not only when, but where they either settled or married, and to give you a real lay of the land. And so this particular series that I'm doing is on a subject near and dear to my heart, Les Filles du Roi, and the king's daughters, in other words. And we will be exploring in mini biographies each of these. Hopefully, we'll go through the list, and there's over 700 of them. So stay tuned. Now, Les Filles du Roi was a program that was instituted in 1662 by the intendant Jean Talon. It began in 1663. I have made a video that really gives you all the nuts and bolts of the program, how the girls were recruited, what they brought over, how the marriages took place, all of that. And it's entitled Les Filles du Roi, the Program 2.0. So have a look at that if you really want to get a handle on what Les Filles du Roi went through and what your particular ancestor would have experienced. Now let's turn our attention to one girl in particular. Marie Talon is my 9th times great-grandmother. Marie was born in 1646 in Saint-Pierre on the island of Oléron. You can see here that on the right side of your screen, that I have set up a little picture to show you. It's really an island. And she was born in the largest city, Saint-Pierre. The church that she was born, Saint-Pierre, the parish of Saint-Pierre, dates back from the 12th century. Her father's name was Michel Talon, and her mother's name was Marguerite Véron. And what's interesting about this particular island, it's that it is really historic, first of all, and it dates from about 1152 that Eleanor of Aquitaine introduced the first maritime or admiralty laws in this part of the world. The Rolls of Oléron is what it was called. In 1306, Edward I of England granted the island to his son, Edward II, as part of the Duchy of Aquitaine. Remember, in other videos, we've talked about the issues between the French Huguenots and what they went through. Well, this is also part of the reason the Protestant sector of England came into French Catholic, if you will, and caused all of the battles and all of the warfare and the persecutions and all of that. So this is the beginnings of it, if you will, or at least definitely one of the main causes of it. Now, when her father died, she was about 22, and she was recruited as a fille du roi, and she left for New France with a dowry worth about 200 pounds. The groom that she chose was born in 1626, so he was significantly older than Marie, about 20 years older, actually. The area where he was born is the parish of Saint-Pierre in the town of La Roche-sur-Yon. It is found in the department of Vendée, which is part of the Pays de la Loire. The Vendée is an area with great historical significance as well. It's actually where Eleanor of Aquitaine was born, and where her son, Richard the Lionheart, had his base of operations. It's interesting to note that both Pierre and Marie had a connection to Eleanor and Richard. So now we've talked about Pierre's beginnings. Let's talk a little bit about this character, who truly is so far the most out there husband of a fille du roi. I say out there because I don't want to judge from 300 years away. And anyway, he's my 8 times great grandfather, so no matter what, There's a little bit of family loyalty there too. Now, before he moves to New France, it appears that Pierre marries Marie Allaire, and, you know, sometime, we're not sure when, he arrives in New France. He's found in Montreal. So by 1662, he arrives, he arrives in Canada, we think around 1658, but there's no proof. And he immediately sets out to make a name for himself. In 1658, he leases a windmill located in Ville-Marie, or Montreal, for £400. In May of 1660, Pierre marries Mathurine de Bordes, a widower in Montreal. Not only does Pierre continue to expand his business interest, but he and Mathurine have a child named Jacques in 1660. Well, all is going wonderfully until someone recognizes him. Imagine, on the streets of Montreal. And he says, "Hi, Pierre." And he's stunned to discover that Pierre is married because, as it turns out, Pierre still has that wife, Marie, and 2 children back in France. He finally admits that, yes, indeed, he was married, but he believed that his wife was a witch. No matter the reason, he is now known as a bigamist. Mathurine requests an annulment and is granted one in August of 1663, and this gives her the right to remarry, which she promptly does, to a Michel Bouvier. Meanwhile, Pierre escapes. Remember, this is totally illegal what he's done. He escapes to Quebec City. By 1664, he was arrested and it appears spent several years in prison for his bigamy. Now, this is where Marie and Pierre meet. So obviously Pierre was able to finish his prison time because in 1668 he and Marie somehow meet and marry on the 9th of October 1668 in Quebec City. And here we have the note, Pierre Bissonnette and Marie Dallon. You'll notice that the Dallon is with an apostrophe. And I love that. I think it's a charming spelling. So I'm not sure if this is how it was, but certainly this is another variation on her name. Now, Pierre returns to his profession as a miller. He first starts out in Charlesbourg, and by 1670, he had leased a mill in Sillery. By 1679, we can find him on the Ile d'Orléans, and at the end of his life in 1687, we find him in La Durancy. So he's all over the place. He's building an empire again. Let's have a look at the 7 children that they had, all of whom made it to adulthood. Jean Bissonnette marries Marie Charlotte Devenne and had 8 children, 7 of whom made it to adulthood. What's interesting about Marie Charlotte's mother she was a fille du roi, Marie Desnois, and her video biography can be found in Fille du Roi episode 9. So we're starting to cross over now. After Marie Charlotte passes away, he marries Marie Leblanc, dite Jolicoeur, with whom he had 4 children, only one of whom made it to adulthood. Marie Madeleine, my 8 times great-grandmother, marries Michel Gautron, dite La Rochelle, and has 7 children, all of whom make it to adulthood. Pierre marries Marie Lacombe and had 5 children, 2 of whom made it to adulthood. Marie marries Joseph Forgue, dite Montrojo, and had 3 children, all of whom make it to adulthood. She then marries Jean Minette and had 1 more child who makes it to adulthood. Anne Françoise marries Joseph Bonneau, dite La Bécasse, with whom she had 2 children, who both pass away in childhood. She then marries Martin Leblanc, with whom she had 9 children, 6 of whom made it to adulthood. I'm just amazed by these women. André marries Françoise Guillemette, and they had 6 children, 2 of whom made it to adulthood. Jacques marries Marie Potvin Vendette, and they had 4 children, 2 of whom made it to adulthood. So that's a huge amount of descendants out of these two. And remember that Pierre, I didn't go into detail about Pierre's first son, and the other 2 children in France. So, in all, the man has 10 children descended, potentially. We don't know what happened to his children from France. But I suspect many of these descendants will somehow find, myself included, will somehow find DNA connections that we didn't know we had through this line, because there's a couple of cases in France. So I suspect that with DNA and the evolution, we're going to discover more about this particular family. Pierre dies on the 7th of August, 1687, at La Durantaye. It is thought he was a victim of smallpox. He is buried in the cemetery of Saint Gabriel, and Marie, in 1692, marries a man named Jacques Annette, but he dies 2 years later. She then marries a fellow named Pierre Guillaume Hublé. Interestingly, Pierre was 18 years her junior, so she went from one husband who was much older to one who was much younger. However, even Pierre, the third husband, dies in 1707, so they had about 10 years together. After that, Marie remains single, and she passes away in 1716, and she dies at Saint-Michel de Bellechasse and is buried in the cemetery of Saint-Michel de la Durantaye, which you can see right here. She was 70 years old, and to have had 3 husbands, 6 children, and have lived that long is a remarkable testimony to her strength. She truly is a very, very strong woman, or was a very, very strong woman. I'm very proud of all she accomplished and all she went through to have, dealt with, marrying someone who had a criminal record, and then he dies, and all of that. She produced 6 strong children who all then produced children of their own. Really amazing woman. And with that, we end our number 15 biography of Les Filles du Roi. I will see you next time with another Filles du Roi biography. Until then, au revoir.